Oh no! Royal Giant and a spawn deck! What next? Hey gamers, Gaming with Melkor here, bringing you another Clash Royale video. This is going to be another deck spotlight, guys, and this could potentially be the most hated deck in Clash Royale history. So before we go any further, guys, do me a big favour and hit that like button, and while you're at it as well, do me an even bigger favour and hit that subscribe button as well. And don't remember to stay till the end of this video to get some tips and tricks on how best to utilise this deck. So guys, let's kick off and show you the deck in question. Oh no, that's it guys, it's the Royal Giant Spawn deck. Oh, so many people hate the Royal Giant. Even more people hate the Spawn decks. So I decided to combine them to be an amazing deck. So guys, this deck comprises of the Royal Giant, the Fireball, the Furnace, the Minions, the Deadly Guards, the Valkyrie, the Goblin Hut, and the Elixir Collector. So let's have a look at how this deck has been performing. The last victory was a 2-1 victory, a 3-2 victory before that, a 2-1 victory before that, and a 3-1 victory before that. So some interesting decks we went up against here. Everything from the Lava Hound to the Sparky. We even had a Miner thrown in there as well, and the Lumberjack. But each and every time, we was able to come away victorious. Now, I'm still getting used to this deck, so I have made a few strange plays, but let's just have a look at some of these videos and see how we was able to do it. So, as always, guys, wish your opponent good luck. It's just common courtesy. I'm not sure if I have... There we go, good luck. So, first things first, we have that Elixir Collector, so let's get that Elixir Collector down on the thing. But unfortunately, our opponent decides to send that Miner and those Minions. So we drop the Valkyrie to take that out, and we're just going to let the tower take that damage. So at this point we are slightly behind, but we do have that Elixir Collector down, and our opponent shows his hand and drops the Inferno. Now for some reason I dropped my Minions a bit slow there and a bit to the left, otherwise they'd have got to that Inferno tower much quicker. So overall it was a poor play on my part. So I'm going to drop the Goblin Hut in the back, and then I'm going to drop the Guard to take out this Lumberjack, all the time being supported by that tower. So I was able to take out those big goblins. Unfortunately at this point, as you can see, we are still in a losing position, but we are building up this push down this left side. So we now have the Furnace down. Our opponent does send in the Miner to attack our Furnace, the cheeky little so-and-so, but we then decided to drop our Royal Giant. Now, unfortunately, we didn't drop those Minions in time, so the Furnace was able to lock onto that Royal Giant. But combining that Royal Giant, those Spear Goblins, etc., we're able to start to do some damage to that tower. Get it down to just over 1600, so we're still in a losing position, but we do have Elixir advantage. And we're going to get that second Elixir Collector down on that field. So our opponent is going to utilise his Lumberjack yet again. Obviously, the Lumberjack is quite an OP card at this moment in time, and people are absolutely loving it. And he backs it up with those Spear Goblins and that Zap. So I drop my Valkyrie down to take those out. So what we have now, we have a Valkyrie going up front, followed by the Spear Goblins and the Guards. So these are just going to go straight for that tower and absolutely destroy it. Obviously, our opponent does drop his Minions to try and counter those, but to no avail. So, we managed to get that first tower down. So I'm going to start a push now down this right-hand side. So I drop down that Inferno, and then I drop down the Royal Giant. Unfortunately, at this point, our opponent does decide to drop down that Lava Hound, which obviously we didn't know he had. But I'm not too worried about it. We have enough troops on defense, and we have managed to make a start taking out that second tower as well. So as you can see, we're continuing our push down this left side, and we drop that Royal Giant down there. Our opponent is going to take that tower, but there's not much we can really do about that. We'll concentrate on obviously trying to get the other towers. So we get that Inferno down, and we take down that second tower as well. So at this point, we've already won the match. It's just whether or not we can actually get the Crown Tower down or not. So in go all the troops here. We have the Valkyrie, the Spear Goblins, we have the Infernos, the Spirits, etc. Gods, all going in for that tower. So a very impressive first battle with this deck. So let's have a look at some of the other replays that we have here. So the next one was a 2-1 victory against an opponent with the Giant and the Sparky. That was an interesting battle, but let's have a look at this very close and intense 3-2 victory against opponents, well, not only the Pecker, but the Sparky, the Rocket and the Giant. So this was a very interesting battle, and I was still getting used to how I was actually playing this as well. So, unfortunately we didn't have the Elixir Collector, so we can't get it down on the field to start with, so we've just got to play it slowly here. As always guys, wish your opponent good luck. So as the Elixir builds up, we then decide to drop the Valkyrie in the back. At the same time, our opponent drops his Giant. A lot of the times now when you see that Giant dropped in the back, you know they're going to be dropping the Sparky just behind. So always be prepared for that. So as the Valkyrie is about to cross that centre area, I drop down the Royal Giant and I drop down the minions. Now unfortunately our opponent does drop down that minion hood, but our Royal Giant compared with that, as well as that Valkyrie, are doing some amazing damage to that tower, and we're going to go up 1 crown to 0. So we are able to take out that wizard, and it's just a matter of time till we take out this Giant as well. We are going to take some serious damage on this tower, but we're still going to be up 1 tower to 0. So at this point we are in a good position, and we have got that main tower down to 3200, but this is where it starts to get interesting. So our opponent drops down those barbarians, so I drop down our furnace. Those fire spirits are fantastic at dealing significant amount of damage to those barbarians, just whittling them down. But unfortunately, you see that rocket? Here it comes. Oh, the shame. So I drop down my Royal Giant, and then I'm going to, obviously, knowing our opponent's low on Elixir, we're going to do some significant damage to this second tower. Our opponent does drop down that minion hood, which worked very, very well. But at this point we are still obviously in a winning position. So I'm not too worried about those goblins. I'm just going to let them do their thing. So I'm going to drop down the Elixir Collector now. And so at this point things start to get interesting, because our opponent does have that Sparky and Pecker, which he's going to start to utilise once he gets to overtime. So down goes my Valkyrie just for a bit of a slow push, while our opponent drops the Giant on the far side. I drop down my Goblin hook, because I just want to get this tower down as quickly as possible. So we've got the Valkyrie, and then our opponent drops down that Pecker. Whoa! Didn't see that coming at this point. He's got a Pecker, a Giant, and a Wizard. So I use the Fireball to do as much damage as possible to that Wizard. Unfortunately, we are going to lose that first tower, and we are going to lose that second tower now. But we are starting to do significant damage to both the Pecker and the Giant, so I'm not overly worried. I am utilising my Royal Giant, etc., just to start chipping away at that tower. Now, we have got the Crown Tower down to 780, so I'm not too worried. So I drop down the Valkyrie, I drop down those Fire Spirits, and I utilise the Fireball to take out those Goblin Horde. So, as we know, our opponent has got that Giant. I'm not too worried. He drops down the Wizard. All I'm waiting for is the Royal Giant to pop back up. Royal Giant goes down. He's going to have enough support to hit on defense. Our opponent does drop down those Barbarians, but they're not really going to be able to do enough damage. And down goes that tower. A lot of sloppy play there from me, especially in the last third of the match. But overall, it was still well played and well executed, and still an easy victory. I was always in control, and even though I knew I was going to lose towers, I was never really concerned about it. So we're just going to have a look at one more battle here, and we're not going to go with the Sparky deck again this time. What we're going to go with, we're going to have a look at this Royal Giant deck here, with the Valkyrie and the Hog Rider. Now, I actually was using a very similar deck to this not so long ago, and I actually did enjoy utilising it. So when our opponent was using it, I was aware of how he was going to play it. So as the Elixir builds up, I drop the Spear Goblin Hut in the back. That's generally one of my first moves if I don't have that Goblin Hut. So if I don't have that Elixir Collector, because they can start to chip away on that tower. And then when you get the Royal Giant in front, you can also start to build up a little bit of a push. So down goes that Furnace to take out. Unfortunately, the Zap was able to take that out, but I did manage to drop my own Valkyrie down to counter those Goblins and our opponent's Valkyrie. So at this point we are ahead on Elixir, and we have a little bit of a push going as well. So I drop down that Elixir Collector, and we start our push again down this right side. Our opponent does drop that Hog Rider, so we drop those guards just to take it out. So at this point we're just waiting for our elixir to build up, and then we're going to continue with a push down this left hand side with the Royal Giant. So down goes the Royal Giant. Now he's got support with those spear goblins and those fire spirits. Unfortunately our opponent does drop down his own Royal Giant, so I drop down my minions to assist in taking that out, and then they're going to be able to help take out these goblins. At that point we have done some significant damage to our opponent's tower, but those well placed fire spirits were able to destroy what's left of our troops. So our opponent does place that cannon again on defense. So again, guys, we're just starting at the back now with that Goblin hut, and as soon as that elixir builds up, we will pop down that Inferno, that furnace as well. But unfortunately, it drops the Hog Rider, so down goes the Valkyrie, and then we're going to drop the guards up front as a bit of a distraction. Poor placement and timing from me there, really. So I drop down that Royal Giant with the Valkyrie behind, because if he drops any troops on top of it, that Valkyrie is just going to clean them up, just like this. So the opponent's Valkyrie is doing some serious damage to our Royal Giant, but we've got our own there as well. So we get that first tower down, and now we're going to start to push down this right hand side. So we've got the furnace and the Goblin hut going down this right hand side. Now our opponent is dropping his Royal Giant because he wants to get our tower down as quickly as possible. So I drop down my Valkyrie, and there was minions to take out both the Royal Giant and that Hog Rider. Unfortunately, it does get our tower down. So at this point, we're basically even, though I do have a bit extra damage on that tower. So down goes the Royal Giant and those spear goblins. Luckily, we are continuing to deal damage continuously down this right-hand side due to the spawn huts. As you can see, we are just building up those spawn huts as quickly as possible. We've got the Valkyrie and the guards there to do some damage to that tower, but all these spear goblins and fire spirits are just going to start chipping away at that tower. There it is, there it goes. Our opponent just can't keep up with this continuous flow of troops. Wish our opponent good game. He put up a very good fight and played the deck very well, but sheer numbers was what won this. So good game and well played to a well fought opponent. So that's the deck. That consists of the Royal Giant, the Fireball, the Furnace, the Minions, the Guards, the Valkyrie, the Goblin hut, and the Elixir Collector. Like I was saying, guys, this deck is absolutely deadly. You can turn a defense into an offense. Once you get that Elixir Collector down and start to get the Goblin hut and the Furnace down, build that Elixir up, utilize that Royal Giant up front as the big brute to take all the DPS. Drop that Valkyrie in there as support. You have the guards as well if need be on both defense and offense. Those minions are fantastic in support as well. Like I say, guys, this deck is simply fantastic. The cohesion in the deck is very, very good, and it all works very well, turning defense into offense and taking down towers in very quick order, especially when you get into overtime, and that's where this deck excels. You hit overtime with this deck and you are going to absolutely destroy your opponents if you get there with the same number of towers still up. So guys, that's it from me. If you like what you see, comment below and let me know. If you've not subscribed, do me a big favour, guys, and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you gamers next time. Take care.